There's a slight time lag between the picture and the sound, but it still works fairly well, I think. Let me know if it's not loud enough. I'll play with the volume. This is Marion's message to you all, and her thanks to you all. And it actually delivers a message which, in relation to some commentary on funding issues in the Northern Territory, doesn't seem to have filtered out into the mainstream media yet. Well, I'll start this now and see how we go.
Greetings from the far north. My apologies for not being able to be there with you this evening, but as you would be aware, I'm currently on the hustings in Arnhem Land, or over on the Tiwi Islands. Welcome and thanks for attending this fundraising event, kindly supported and sponsored by the King's Cross branch of the ALP, the CrossArt projects, Murrawuta Gallery at Kakadu National Park, Injaluk Arts at Goombalanya, Maningrida Arts and Culture and the Tiwi Art Network. By way of introduction, I'd like to tell you firstly about what the Northern Territory Labor Government is doing about addressing Indigenous disadvantage. Under the Henderson Labor Government, we have committed to an intergenerational plan to remove Indigenous disadvantage in the Territory. We have called the plan Closing the Gap. There has been an initial commitment of $286 million over 5 years. It is the largest program of social spending in the history of the Northern Territory Government, and it is Labor that is carrying it out. It is targeted at child protection, education, health, housing and community safety. It complements commitment by the Rudd Government towards closing the gap. It is a great relief to us and to Indigenous Territorians in general that we can now deal rationally with the federal government. Closing the gap must meet set targets at 5, 10 and 20-year intervals. The CLP opposition in the Northern Territory has not shown any interest in closing the gap. That is why it is vital that they are not allowed back in power. They long ago abandoned the regions and the bush here in the Territory. They have always ignored Aboriginal Territorians. It is worth remembering something we abolished when Labor got into government here in the Territory. Before 2001, the CLP governments used a tax for administrative purposes, 52 cents in the dollar for all Commonwealth purpose specific Aboriginal health programs and 48 cents in the dollar for similar education grants. Under Labor, we have worked to put an end to that sort of discriminatory practice. There are no easy fixes, no silver bullets, but only Labor in the Territory, working closely with our Labor colleagues in Canberra, are committed to closing the gap. I also inform you that the previous federal government's major effort in Indigenous affairs, commonly called the intervention, is currently being reshaped by a review group chaired by a respected Kimberley Indigenous leader, PDU. At last, we are having proper consultation and engagement with Indigenous Territorians about how the intervention will affect them. Tonight's sale and auction held by the King's Cross branch of the ALP is to contribute to my campaign in the seat of Arafura, but is also a commitment to keep in office the only party in the Territory capable of closing the gap of Indigenous disadvantage. The artists are largely drawn from my electorate. Wearing my Arts Minister's hat, it is a special privilege for me to also represent these great artists in the seat of Arafura, from Western Arnhem Land and Kakadu to the Tiwi Islands, from the Stone Country to the Saltwater. There are also special pieces from Paddy Fordham Wangbaranga, who passed away some years ago. I first met him in Katherine when I was the director of Wurli Aboriginal Health Service, when we commissioned him to paint murals at the clinic and the office buildings. He was a bit of a drinker, so sometimes he didn't make it to work, but when he did, the intensity and passion of his output was extraordinary to witness, especially in his depiction of Wurli, the mosquito dreaming after which the health centre was named. The following description of Paddy sums up the work and the man. Above all, Fordham was a storyteller and a teacher. He was fond of a drink, and I have vivid memories of him at the club at Beswick at sundown. Bringing in his latest bark painting wrapped in an old sheet, he would tell, declaim even, preach his latest stories. It would be a performance for all, with laughter and good humour, and with catcalls, disagreements and elaborations for his countrymen. At times in song, and others spoken in a mixture of Romanga, Creole and English, his stories were lyrical reflections of his homelands. Those reflections are from Chips McAnulty, who works with him. They are similar to my memories of him, though not at the Beswick Club. As you would watch this presentation, I will be campaigning out bush. Up here we have a process of mobile polling, which takes electoral commission workers and candidates between the outstations and small communities and towns that typify my seat of Arafura. It means travelling by road and light aircraft with 2 and 3 polling booths a day, some for as little as an hour while people exercise their right to vote. It is a far cry from the time I was in Sydney working on polling booths in support of Labor candidates in the last New South Wales elections. In a very real sense, the artwork you will see in Sydney tonight sums up those differences big time. So I hope this evening goes well. I'll certainly be thinking of my friends and my supporters down there in Sydney while I'm sitting around the campfire up here getting ready for next week's mobile polling. Thank you so much.